I knew it was wrong to stay behind that night, but I also knew I'd do it again. The house was quiet in that strange, heavy way a house feels after everyone else has left. My friend Dylan had gone out to meet someone, tossing a casual, "Don't wait up," over his shoulder. I hadn't planned to wait. But I didn't leave either. I was sitting on the edge of the living room couch, nursing a glass of water I didn't need, pretending to scroll my phone. But really, I was listening for footsteps upstairs. Hers. She wasn't like other moms. That sounds like a cliché, but I don't mean it that way. She didn't try to be young or cool or act like we were friends. She was just fully herself. Beautiful in a way that made you forget how to act. And not in the tight dress, red lipstick kind of way. It was subtler than that. The way her laugh stuck around in a room. The way she looked you in the eye and meant it. Mrs. Carver, Renee, as I never dared to say, walked in from the kitchen barefoot, holding a mug of tea. Loose black sweater. Legs bare. And that soft, sleepy kind of calm you get when you think no one's watching. Except I was watching. "Still here?" she asked, raising one eyebrow without looking directly at me. Her voice was low, quiet, just above a whisper, like she didn't want to wake the night. "Yeah. Dylan ditched me," I said, trying to sound amused, casual. Like my heart wasn't doing that stupid tight squeeze thing just because she'd entered the room. She smiled faintly and sank into the armchair across from me. Crossed her legs. Looked into her mug for a long time before speaking again. "You always look at me like you're starving." I didn't move. Her words didn't come with a smirk. They weren't a flirt. They were soft. Observational. Like she just pointed out it was raining outside. She finally lifted her gaze. Her eyes didn't flinch. "And you never try to hide it," she added, like she was still thinking it through. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. The room felt hotter all of a sudden. My hands were damp. I could hear the hum of the fridge in the kitchen like it was too loud. I don't mean to. I didn't say I minded," she said. Then silence. She sat back, exhaling slowly, still watching me. And I realized I wasn't breathing. I tried to swallow, but my throat was dry. "You should probably go," she said, voice softer now. But the way she said it didn't feel like a door closing. My eyes searched hers for something I couldn't name. "Do you want me to?" I asked finally. There was a pause. A long one. The kind that rewrites things. Then the doorbell rang. She didn't look away. And neither did I. The doorbell rang again, but neither of us moved. It was just some delivery guy. She got up eventually, walked barefoot to the door, murmured a soft, "Thanks," and returned with a small box in her hands like nothing had happened. Like we hadn't just crossed some invisible line. But something had shifted. I felt it in my chest. In the way she didn't meet my eyes anymore. She sat back down, this time on the couch beside me, her knees angled slightly away. I could smell jasmine from her hair. She tucked one leg beneath her, focused on unwrapping the tape from the box. Like that small task might ground her. "I didn't mean to make things weird," I said, voice low. Her lips parted, but she didn't respond right away. Instead, she glanced over at me, this quiet, unreadable glance that felt like it held years in it. Not anger. Not shame. Just history. "You didn't make it weird," she said. "It's always been weird." There was something about the way she said always. Like this wasn't the first time she'd noticed. Like she'd been pretending longer than I had. She pulled out a ceramic photo frame from the box and turned it in her hands. There was a picture already in it, her, maybe 10 years younger, holding Dylan as a kid. I looked at it, and suddenly remembered being in that kitchen for the first time, 11 years old, awkward, unsure, watching her cook while I waited for my friend. "You and Dylan don't talk as much anymore," she said. I nodded. "We're different people now. And you're not a kid anymore." She said it so simply, but the words sat heavy between us. I wanted to say something clever, something light. But my chest felt full, and I couldn't tell if it was nerves or something else. "I broke up with someone last year," I said, surprising even myself. She said I didn't know what I wanted. Renee looked over slowly. "Did you?" I let out a half laugh. "No. I thought I did. But I think I was just trying to feel wanted." She was quiet for a second, then nodded, like she understood more than I meant to say. "I stayed with Dylan's dad way too long," she said after a pause. "I wasn't happy. But it was safe. Predictable." I turned toward her. Our shoulders were barely inches apart. "You don't seem like someone who settles for predictable," I said. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "You'd be surprised." The quiet stretched again. But this time, it didn't feel awkward. It felt real. Like we were two people on a thread neither of us had expected. I looked down and noticed her fingers were resting close to mine on the couch cushion. I didn't touch them. But I didn't pull away either. And she didn't move. She just let her hand stay there, almost touching mine. And that almost said more than anything else could have. The door creaked upstairs. We both froze. Renee's hand jerked back like it had touched fire. Her eyes darted toward the staircase. Footsteps. Fast. Familiar. Dylan. I sprang to my feet, grabbing my phone like I'd just remembered something important. Renee stood too, smoothing down her sweater, her face unreadable but suddenly cooler, like the switch had flipped back. Dylan came down barefoot, half laughing, holding his phone. "Dude, you still here? I thought you'd bailed hours ago." I forced a smile. "Yeah, was just about to head out." He looked between us, then squinted slightly, not suspicious, just curious. "You guys talking about something?" Renee was already walking past him toward the kitchen. "Nothing interesting," she said. "Just catching up." Dylan shrugged. "Cool. Hey, I ordered food, wanna stay?" I shook my head. "Nah. I've got class early. I'll text you." He gave me a casual wave and plopped down on the couch, already opening some gaming app. I walked toward the door, heart pounding like I'd done something criminal. As I slipped on my shoes, I saw her again, standing at the kitchen counter, pouring water into the kettle like everything was normal. But when our eyes met across the room, the stillness returned. And I knew it wasn't over. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't stop replaying it, what she'd said, how she'd looked at me, the nearness of her hand. It wasn't just attraction anymore. It was something deeper. Heavier. I avoided Dylan the next few days. I told myself I needed space, clarity. But clarity never came. Just more noise. Then, 3 nights later, she texted me. "Could you help me move a few boxes from the garage? Should only take a few minutes." No emojis. No punctuation. Just like her, calm on the surface, impossible to read. When I showed up, Dylan wasn't home. She led me into the garage without saying much. We lifted 2 boxes, small ones. It could have been done in 5 minutes. But we lingered. She wiped dust from her fingers with the sleeve of her sweater, not meeting my gaze. "Was that a mistake?" I asked. My voice felt rawer than I expected. She looked at me slow. "What part?" "Staying in the room that night." Saying what you said? She stepped back slightly. I didn't plan to say it. It just slipped out. I took a breath. Did you mean it? She didn't answer. Her eyes dropped to the space between us. I stepped closer. Her back touched the garage wall. She didn't move. I reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. She inhaled, sharp, involuntary. Then, her phone rang. Loud. Jarring. She stepped away quickly, fumbling it from her pocket. It's Dylan, she said, avoiding my eyes. He's on his way back. Silence swallowed us again. Neither of us said what we wanted to. But the unfinished gravity of the moment stayed. Like a kiss that almost happened. Like a feeling we weren't ready to name. It started raining just after midnight. I hadn't planned to come over. I didn't text. I didn't knock. I just stood outside her front door like a coward, soaked through, unsure if I was looking for shelter or for her. When she opened the door, she didn't look surprised. Come in, she said quietly, stepping aside. I walked in dripping. She grabbed a towel from the hallway closet, handed it to me without a word. Her hand brushed mine. It lingered for half a second too long. Everything in me tightened. She wore a simple black tank top and pajama pants. Her hair was down, damp at the ends, like she just showered. She wasn't wearing makeup. She didn't need it. I stood there, towel in hand, not using it. This isn't fair, I said. She raised an eyebrow, leaning against the wall. To who? To me. To you. To him. Her silence was sharp. I can't pretend you're just his mom anymore, I said. I can't keep acting like we don't feel something. I never said I didn't feel anything, she said. That hit harder than I expected. Then why are we still pretending? I asked. Why are you always pulling away the second it gets close? Her jaw clenched, and for once I saw her guard slip. Because I'm scared, she whispered. My breath caught. I've lived a quiet life for years, she went on, voice cracking slightly. No drama. No risk. Just peace. Then you started showing up with those eyes that don't look away. And I started, wanting something I'm not supposed to want. I moved closer, towel forgotten in my hand. I'm not a kid anymore, I said. I know that, she snapped, voice shaking. That's the problem. You're not a kid, and I'm not safe with this. Then don't be safe, I said. Her lips parted. Her breathing shifted. And then, her voice dropped, trembling but honest. I think about you when I'm alone. I try not to. I try so hard not to. That silence after her words was brutal. My heart was pounding so loudly it felt like it filled the room. I stepped even closer, so close I could feel the heat between us. Her eyes flicked to my lips. Tell me to stop, I said. And I will. She didn't speak. I leaned in just enough for her to feel it, a breath from her skin. But before anything could happen, Aki turned in the front door. Her eyes went wide. She stepped back like the floor dropped under her. I turned toward the sound, chest heaving, mind racing. Dylan's voice echoed from the entry. Mom? You up? She looked at me, panicked, flushed, breathless. We hadn't kissed. But we had crossed a line. And there was no way to uncross it now. Dylan walked in with rain in his hair and a plastic bag in his hand. I brought snacks. Didn't think you'd still be up. Renee managed a calm smile, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Couldn't sleep. I stood frozen in the corner of the room, trying to act casual while everything inside me screamed. Dylan looked over at me, surprised. You again? Thought you ghosted me this week. Yeah, I muttered. I just stopped by. Was gonna head out. He dropped the bag on the kitchen counter. You alright, man? You look kinda pale. I'm fine. Renee didn't look at me. I left in a hurry, barely saying goodbye. The air outside felt colder than it should have. As I got in my car, hands gripping the wheel, I knew something had shifted again, but not the way I expected. The next day, I got a message from Dylan. Hey, can I ask you something? I stared at the screen, heart sinking. Sure. Did something happen with my mom? I didn't reply right away. She's been weird since last night. And I heard you guys talking before I came in. Everything in me went still. What exactly did you hear? You said something about pretending. About not being a kid. Then it got quiet. I didn't lie. We were just talking. I don't think she's used to people really asking how she feels. He waited a while. Then, she's lonely. I know she is. But please don't be one of those guys who thinks it's okay just because she doesn't say no. My stomach dropped. I'm not using her, Dylan. Good. Then stay away from her. That one hit harder than I expected. I didn't answer. That night, I drove past their street twice. I didn't stop. I told myself it was over. That Dylan was right. That none of this was fair to anyone. And then, around 10 p.m., Renee texted me. He knows something. He's not saying it, but I can feel it. I stared at the message. My chest felt hollow. What do we do? Nothing, she replied. We say it never happened. But it did happen. A long pause. Then I made a mistake. Those 5 words hit like a punch. I stared at them until the screen dimmed. The next morning, I skipped class and sat in the library for hours. I tried to focus. I couldn't. All I kept hearing was, I made a mistake. I didn't text. I didn't call. And she didn't either. But later that night, when I got home, a letter was tucked under my apartment door. No name on the front. Just my name in her handwriting. And inside 3 words. Don't believe me. The letter burned in my hands. Don't believe me. That was it. No explanation. No apology. Just 3 words that undid everything she'd said before. I read them again. And again. Until I couldn't breathe. I didn't wait this time. I drove to her house without thinking. It was late, too late to be polite, but I didn't care. I parked down the street and walked the last few houses like someone approaching a cliff. When she opened the door, she looked tired. Barefoot again. Hoodie zipped halfway. And for the first time, she looked unsure. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. You left a letter, I said. She stepped aside without answering. The house was dim. Soft music was playing somewhere distant, maybe from her bedroom. The hum of the fridge. The ticking of the clock. The way silence fills up a place that's used to holding tension. You told me it was a mistake, I said, my voice low. Then told me not to believe you. She sat on the edge of the couch, elbows on her knees, hands clasped like she was praying. I didn't know which version of myself to be, she said. The one who wants to be safe. Or the one who wanted to kiss you that night. My throat tightened. Why does it have to be either? I asked. Because you're my son's best friend, she said. Because I'm twice divorced. Because I should know better. But you don't want me to believe it was a mistake, I said. She looked up. Her eyes shimmered, but not from tears. From fear. From something heavier. No, she whispered. I don't The words landed between us like an earthquake. I crossed the room slowly. Sat beside her, but not too close. Then don't push me away anymore, I said. I'm not trying to ruin your life. I'm just trying to be honest about mine. She laughed softly, almost bitterly. You say that like it's simple. It's not, I said. But it's real. She looked at me for a long time, like she was memorizing my face, or maybe memorizing the version of herself that only came alive when I was around. I'm terrified of how you make me feel, she said finally. I know, I replied. I feel it too. She leaned in then, not all the way, but enough. Our foreheads touched. Eyes closed. Breath tangled. It wasn't a kiss, but it was something more than that. It was surrender. And for a moment, everything else faded, Dylan, the years between us, the fear, the rules. Just two people. Seen. Exposed. Shaking. I don't know how this ends, she whispered. I pulled back slightly, just enough to look her in the eyes. Then let's stop trying to end it. It didn't become a fairy tale. There was no dramatic announcement, no stolen vacation, no candlelit declarations. Just two people who saw too much of themselves in each other, and didn't pretend otherwise anymore. The next few weeks were quiet, careful. Renee didn't text unless it felt safe. I didn't linger at the house. Dylan noticed, of course. He wasn't stupid, but he never asked again. Maybe he didn't want to know. Maybe deep down, he already did. And maybe I hoped he'd never say it out loud. Because then I'd have to answer. Renee and I met in in-between places, a bookstore where no one knew us, her car parked outside the old train station, once behind the cafe near my campus where she sat across from me with her sunglasses on, stirring coffee she never drank. We didn't talk about the future. Not really. We didn't make promises. But every time I looked at her, I saw something deeper, something honest. She didn't wear the mask she wore around others with me. And I didn't try to be smooth or clever. I didn't need to. One evening, while we sat on the hood of her car under a sky full of muted stars, I asked her, "Do you still think you made a mistake?" She leaned back on her elbows, glanced up at the sky. "No," she said quietly. "I think I made a choice. And I think I needed to." I didn't push further. She reached out and rested her hand over mine. No hesitation this time. We stayed that way for a while. Just existing beside each other. And maybe that's what made it real. Not the heat of what almost happened, but the comfort in what did. Eventually, she moved away. It wasn't a dramatic exit, just an opportunity she couldn't turn down. A job, a quieter place, a fresh chapter. We didn't break up, because there was nothing official to end. But we knew, in the way people know when something good isn't meant to last forever. Before she left, we had one last night. No drama. No fear. Just silence and soft glances and the quiet ache of goodbye. She touched my face that night like she was memorizing it. "You'll forget me someday," she said, half smiling. "I hope not," I whispered. She kissed me then. Slow. Certain. And left the next morning before the sun came up. It's been a year. Sometimes I see a woman at a grocery store who moves like her. Or hear a laugh that sounds too familiar. And I remember. Not with pain. But with something that feels grateful. Because for a while, I wasn't starving anymore. I was seen. Wanted. Chosen. And so was she. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? Let me know in the comments. Your thoughts inspire the next one.